Chapter 30 The Finals. Yan Xiaosh laughed, while Chen Duoduo had a look of righteous indignation on his face. In reality, however, Chen Duoduo had also burst into laughter inwardly. Glancing at Yan Xiaosh, he inwardly thought, old Yan, no matter how sly you are, you'll have to drink the water this daddy uses to wash his feet with. Hee, I hope that you don't regret this in the future. Of course, it'll be too late to regret it then. Wahahaha. Naturally, the two teams that were participating in the finals of the freshman assessments knockout tournament weren't aware that their match had gotten to the point that even the two deans were betting against each other. Both sides had arrived in the arena early. One side was making their preparations, while the other observed their opponents. Even though Dai Huobin didn't recognize Huo Yuao, he was naturally able to sense the threat that Huo Yuao's team posed to him. If he based their chances on cultivation rank alone, their team should win. However, there were several things that should have happened yet hadn't. As such, nothing was set in stone. Was Ning Tian's team weak? Both Ning Tian, who possessed the Seven Treasures Glazed Pagoda, and Wu Feng, who possessed the Fire Dragon, were outstanding first-rate students from this year's batch of new students, and the overall strength of Ning Tian's team hadn't been far off from their team's strength. Had Shi Wanyu's team been weak, Shi Wanyu had an extraordinarily strong defense, but their match had still ended with the Proctor being forced to interfere and protect him. If the Proctor hadn't, he might not have been able to leave in one piece. There was the powerful Wang Dong, the twin soul Xiao Xiao, and finally Huo Yuao, who was somewhat mysterious despite only being a soul master. The three of them made Dai Huobin feel threatened. Because of this, they'd made sufficient preparations before the match started. They'd even found the teams that had previously fought against Huo Yuao's team and asked them about their fights in order to carefully understand Huo Yuao and his teammates' abilities. Compared to Dai Huobin's cautious and concentrated state of mind, Huo Yuao was currently feeling a few different emotions. He'd done everything he could to hide his hatred deep within his heart, but his heartbeat still sped up violently when they entered the arena to begin the final match of the knockout tournament. He truly wanted to simply get his revenge now. However, he knew that wasn't a realistic option. With so many teachers present, as well as the referee who'd be monitoring and controlling the match, it would practically be impossible for him to kill Dai Huobin with his current strength. Wang Dong whispered. Yep. Huo Yuao turned to Wang Dong and saw the cold look in his eyes. Relax, don't expose any flaws. He urged Huo Yuao, his voice so low that even Xiao Xiao couldn't hear him. At that moment, the referee entered the vast assessment arena. All of the petitions had been removed during the afternoon, exposing the enormous assessment arena. The referee waved towards both sides, motioning for them to enter the arena. Huo Yuao's trio proudly entered the arena. As per usual, Huo Yuao stood in the middle, while Wang Dong and Xiao Xiao stood on either side of him. On the other side of the arena, Dai Huobin also stood in the middle as he walked into the arena, while the two girls on his team stood beside him. The referee called the two parties to him and said in a deep voice, the finals are about to begin, thus there will be a change in the rules. Listen well. As of now, you can move as you wish in the arena, but students with flying-type martial souls are no longer allowed to fly more than 10 meters into the air. For the sake of allowing you to display the entirety of your strength, you can go all out with your attacks. Don't hold anything back during the match. I'll take care of the situation if any problems arise. However, any participants I have to rescue will be disqualified from the match. Do you understand? Understood. Both parties simultaneously replied. A peculiar light flashed through both Huo Yuao and Wang Dong's eyes. At the same time, a trace of chilliness appeared in Dai Huobin's eyes as an incorporeal killing intent seemed to erupt from his body. Although Dai Huobin wasn't the eldest son, he was still one of the White Tiger Duke's sons. He'd received the best education a child could since he was young. He hadn't just learned how to cultivate his martial soul, he'd also learned about how to participate in a war, as well as ways to kill others. The White Tiger Duke was a commander of one of the Dalu Empire's 3 armies. As such, his sons would definitely obtain military experience in the future. As a result of this, Dai Huobin had a much colder temperament than his peers. He already had the basic mannerisms of a soldier. Of the White Tiger Duke's many sons, he had the best amount of talent, which in turn made the White Tiger Duke value him highly. On the other hand, any of the White Tiger Duke's sons could inherit the position of Grand Duke. This had formed Dai Huobin's firm and ruthless personality. When he was only 5 years old, he personally killed his first young soul beast. Both sides, introduce yourselves. Huo Yuao, Wang Dong, Xiao Xiao. On the other side, Dai Huobin's team of 3 exuded an obvious sense of hostility. Dai Huobin, Dalu. The black-haired girl said, Kui Yaji. The pink-haired girl said. The referee spread his arms wide and said, both teams, return to your sides of the arena. When I give the signal, you may begin attacking. Both parties slowly moved backwards, but Huo Yuao continued to keep his eyes trained on Dai Huobin. A savage light flickered through Dai Huobin's eyes as they revealed a faint killing intent. However, he was astonished by the fact that Huo Yuao didn't yield at all. Strength-wise, there was a world of difference between the two of them. However, the aura that Huo Yuao was letting out at this instant didn't lose to Dai Huobin's at all. At that moment, the onlooking teachers were completely silent. Even Yan Xiaosh and Chen Duoduo had become fully concentrated on the arena below them. As Fan looked towards the retreating form of Huo Yuao, he inwardly thought to himself, right, I hope that you won't disappoint me. This match isn't just related to your freshman assessment, it's also the most important assessment that the Soul Tool department has for you. Both parties quickly reached their respective sides of the arena. The assessment arena was extremely large. Thus, due to the distance between them, both parties had already become minuscule dots in each other's eyes. The referee raised his right hand, then brought it down swiftly. Immediately afterwards, a clear begin rang out in the ears of the participants. The instant after the announcement was made, both parties moved identically. They both charged towards each other. At that moment, they were separated by too great a distance. Even Huo Yuao was unable to scout their opponents with his spiritual detection. Wang Dong let out a shout as he ran, causing the wings of his radiant butterfly goddess to unfurl. He flew directly into the air, but didn't overtake Huo Yuao. Instead, he flew right above him. They understood that there was little chance of them winning if they were to compete in pure strength. Dai Huobin's white tiger was even better than Wu Feng's red dragon in terms of quality, albeit only slightly. Furthermore, Wu Feng had only had 2 soul rings. Even though Ning Tian was a 3-ring soul elder, her strength boosting boost had been completely halted by Huo Yuao's spiritual shock. However, Dai Huobin definitely wouldn't allow himself to lose to the same trick. He'd definitely guard himself against Huo Yuao's spiritual shock. With his cultivation rank as a soul elder, Huo Yuao's team were fated to be dragged into a bitter fight in which their only chance of winning would lay with Huo Yuao and Wang Dong's Haodong power. Xiao Xiao ran in front of Huo Yuao, using her body to shield his. Simultaneously, she took out her Nina Phoenix worshipping flute. On the other hand, Dai Huobin's trio kept their previous formation as they wildly dashed forward. Dai Huobin was in the very front, and he shouted loudly as he ran, White Tiger, possession. An intense, white light suddenly exploded from his body, causing his arms to simultaneously expand as he charged forward. His chest stuck out, and bone-cracking sounds rang out from every corner of his body. His muscles suddenly swelled up, causing his clothes to be stretched taut. All of his muscles were now extremely prominent, and even the air surrounding him seemed to have turned wild. His golden hair instantly turned black and white, with the white hair taking up a majority. However, the few strands of black hair on his head were especially obvious. 4 faint lines appeared on his head, forming the king character. Of the transformations that occurred to his body, his hands had been transformed the most. They doubled in size, and white fur covered the backs of his hands. Short, dagger-like claws began to unceasingly extend and retract from his 10 fingers as he moved them, and each claw, 8 inches in length, was just like the edge of a knife, and flickered with a cold, ghostly light. Dai Huobin slowly crouched forward, and his 4 pupils became a deep, ghostly blue, making it seem as if he were a machine specifically designed for slaughter. 3 halos of light began to slowly rise above his feet. 2 of them were yellow, while the other was purple. As his soul rings revolved, his surging soul power formed a wave of pressure that exploded outwards. Huo Yuao couldn't help but purse his lips as he saw the White Tiger martial soul. If his martial soul hadn't undergone a variation, he would have possessed a martial soul that was just like Dai Huobin's. If he also possessed the strong white tiger martial soul, even the wife of the white tiger Duke couldn't be able to suppress him if she wanted to. Any child of the main bloodline who possessed the white tiger would be an extremely important person who would be groomed by the clan. Furthermore, he was even the son of the white tiger Duke, albeit a bastard child. Various transformations had also occurred to the two girls beside Dalu. The heterochromatic eyes of the black-haired girl on his left, Doulu, became even deeper in color, and her ears pricked up. Furthermore, her charming figure became even more slender and powerful. Sharp claws appeared on all 10 of her fingers, and even though they weren't as sturdy as Dalu's, they gave off an illusory sense of swiftness. Although her current speed hadn't exceeded Dalu's, her body unexpectedly gave rise to a series of consecutive afterimages as it flickered. The pink-haired girl, on the other hand, was even stranger. After releasing her martial soul, she seemed to have aged by 3 or 4 years, causing her originally 12-year-old self to turn into a young lady that was filled with youthfulness. Her pink hair grew even longer, and even formed large curls at the bottom, making it look like a pink waterfall that rose into the air. Her eyes became clear and gem-like, causing her whole body to be filled with the vigor of youth. Her ears had become pointed as well, even more so than Doulu's. Furthermore, one couldn't help but stare blankly at her perfect features. Most importantly, 2 long tails had appeared from her back. Each tail was around 1 meter long, and their thick, pink fur was illuminated by the rays of the afternoon sun, making it so that one couldn't help but want to rub them. Kuyaji's pink eyes immediately found Huo and she smiled charmingly at him. Her first soul ring quietly lit up, but the light coming from it wasn't very obvious. If one wasn't paying careful attention to it, it would be overlooked. Huo's pale gold eyes flashed, but he remained unmoving. Kuyaji's body shook, and her peerless face turned slightly pale. Her martial soul, the Nine-Tails Fox, was a relatively high-leveled existence among beast souls, and it had a few unique characteristics. It would grow a single tail for every extra soul ring she obtained, and her strength would increase accordingly. Her first soul skill was called Charm, and she'd used it on Huo, albeit to no effect. The Nine-Tails Fox was part spiritual type and part assault type, and she'd chosen the same path for her cultivation. However, Huo's spirit eyes were a martial soul that focused completely on the spiritual type. Due to that, it would be hard for Kuyaji's Charm, which was a spiritual type skill, to affect him. After this brief period of time passed, both teams were now within 50 meters of each other. Thus, the speed-reducing effect of Xiaoxiao's Nina Phoenix worshipping flute started to show itself, causing the speed of Dahuagen's trio to decrease clearly. However, Doulu was affected most by it. The number of afterimages she created decreased by 2, and she didn't seem so illusory anymore. As the distance between them shrank, Dahuagen's team entered the range of Huo's spiritual detection, causing their every move to appear as a three-dimensional image in the minds of Huo's team. Dahuagen's team made the first move. Doulu's body flashed, causing her speed to suddenly increase. This created a series of consecutive afterimages that appeared behind her as she pounced towards Huo. Although she was affected by the speed-reducing effect of the Nina Phoenix worshipping flute, her speed was still as shocking as ever. Huo's trio were all inwardly astonished. Before their match started, they'd heard that Doulu's martial soul was the Netherworld Civet, and that she was an agility system battle soulmaster. However, she was undoubtedly the quickest agility system soulmaster they'd ever met. Were it not for the Nina Phoenix worshipping flute speed-reducing effect, it would have been hard to even catch her shadow. The instant Doulu made her move, Dahuagen started to go on the offensive. He roared, and in a flash, an intense white light gathered around his head as his second soul ring lit up. Right after that, a ball of white light shot towards Wang Dong. Clearly, he didn't want to give Wang Dong any chance to save Huo. Kuyaji was originally using her charm on Huo, but she suddenly shifted the target of her skill to Xiaoxiao. The three of them coordinated extremely well. They each targeted a member of Huo's team that they had an advantage against. Kuyaji wanted to disrupt Xiaoxiao's Nina Phoenix worshipping flute, giving Doulu the chance to attack Huo. Doulu wanted to rely on her speed to take care of the enemy commander. On the other hand, Dahuagen clashed against Wang Dong's strength with his own strength. Were it not for Huo's spiritual detection, their team would have immediately suffered a loss. After all, there was a distinct gap between the two teams' cultivations. However, the foundational gap between their predictive skills changed the entire situation. The moment Kuyaji changed the target of her skill, Huo made his move. However, he chose not to work together with Wang Dong. They were currently in a 3v3 match, and if he and Wang Dong joined forces against a single opponent, the remaining person would definitely cause a huge inconvenience to them. Huo released his spiritual shock. Target, Kuyaji. The timing of Huo's attack was simply too ingenious. The Sky Dream Iceworm had warned him of the backlash that could occur as a result of his spiritual shock, but Huo had the help of his spiritual detection. Why would he launch an attack on an opponent who was guarding against his attacks? The instant he chose to activate his spiritual shock was the exact instant when Kuyaji changed who she was targeting. The instant she used her charm on Xiaoxiao. Kuyaji's charm and Huo's spiritual shock were both spiritual type skills, but the difference between the two skills was shown now. Kuyaji needed visual contact for her charm to be activated, but Huo didn't need anything of the sort. Furthermore, his spiritual shock had no activation signals. Kuyaji let out a muffled groan. An intense, stabbing pain suddenly filled her brain, causing her to stagger forward and nearly fall. However, her spiritual power was much greater than an ordinary soul grandmaster's, and Huo's cultivation rank was below hers. Without the assistance of the Haodong power, Huo's spiritual shock wasn't able to pose an enormous threat to her. However, it was still able to stop her from interrupting Xiaoxiao. The instant that Huo made his move, Xiaoxiao activated her 3-live Soul Crush Cauldron. The black cauldron flew towards Huo, suddenly dropping to the ground just as Doulu was about to reach him. Doulu was extremely quick, thus she was able to quickly evade. However, the 3-live Soul Crush Cauldron suddenly split in 3 to form a straight line in front of her. Xiaoxiao then activated her first soul skill, Cauldron Quake. Amidst the thunderous booms, the quaking ripples emanated from Xiaoxiao's 3-live Soul Crush Cauldrons formed a protective barrier in front of Huo. Although Doulu was quick, she wasn't able to dodge all 3 cauldrons in such a brief moment. When Xiaoxiao had released her soul skill, she knew that she was screwed. Thus, she instantly stopped the soul skill she just activated and had turned to the side, narrowly dodging the quaking ripples from Xiaoxiao's Cauldron Quake. At the same time, another intense boom rang out. With a muffled groan, Wang Dong landed beside Huo. He'd suffered a loss after trying to block Dahuagen's second soul skill, the white tiger's fierce light wave, with his guillotine wing, causing an unstable light to flicker around his wings as they shook. In addition, a trace of blood began leaked out of his mouth and nose. The gap in their soul power's strength had immediately been revealed. Once Dahuagen had obtained an advantage, he wouldn't give it up easily. He quickly shot forwards, a savage glint in his eyes. On the other hand, the crafty Kuyaji rapidly hid behind him, so as to dodge Huo's attacks. Dahuagen was a bold person, but he had a plentiful amount of combat experience. He was much more experienced than Huo's trio at least. The instant his body shot forward, his first soul ring lit up, causing a layer of white light to surround his entire body, especially his head. He was clearly guarding against Huo. This was his first soul skill, White Tiger's Shield. Not only did it have an extremely powerful defense, it also increased his combat strength. Both parties had already been close to one another, and this clash only brought them even closer. Dahuagen pounced towards Wang Dong, landed in front of him, and swatted at him with his claw. On the other side, Doulu's body flashed as she fought against the 3-live Soul Crush Cauldron. She was simply too fast, however, as Xiaoxiao needed 120% of her focus to block her with the 3-live Soul Crush Cauldron, even with the speed inhibiting effect of her Nina Phoenix worshipping flute and Huo's spiritual detection. If Doulu hadn't been suppressed by a combination of so many factors, she would have been able to approach Huo and attack him. Wang Dong had already suffered a loss during his first clash with Dahuagen, who had now approached him again. It was clear who held the upper hand. They were both assault system battle soul masters, but they specialized in different areas. Wang Dong's radiant butterfly goddess had extremely strong energy type attacks like the light of the butterfly goddess, but the white tiger had always been good at close combat attacks. As a result of this, Dahuagen would have the upper hand in a close range fight like this. Dahuagen was astonished by the fact that Wang Dong hadn't activated his second soul skill yet. After landing on the ground stably, Wang Dong still continued to meet Dahuagen's claw with his guillotine wing. Dahuagen snorted coldly and forcefully grabbed the hold of Wang Dong's wings with his claws, completely ignoring their sharp edges. He wanted to rely on his own strength to crush Wang Dong's martial soul. From this, his amount of self-confidence could be seen. The moment before his claw touched Wang Dong's wing, Dahyuobin suddenly felt a sense of crisis in his heart. He suddenly discovered something different about Wang Dong's guillotine wing. Previously, Wang Dong's blue wings had been outlined with a golden edge. Now, however, a faint layer of orange had on top of that golden edge. That's not right. As a result of Dahyuobin's fast combat experience, he was able to react the instant he sensed that something was wrong. He forcefully stopped his claw, then stamped on the ground with his right foot. This forcefully changed the trajectory of his charge, allowing him to dodge to the side. At the same time, he activated his White Tiger's Fierce Light Wave again, launching it towards Wang Dong as he dodged to the side. However, the situation this time had completely changed. The instant that Dahyuobin had changed directions, Wang Dong hadn't chased after him. Instead, he'd unfurled his wings and flown up into the air. He then landed on Hua Yuao's shoulders, allowing him to dodge Dahyuobin's White Tiger's Fierce Light Wave's bombardment. With Hua Yuao's spiritual detection, Wang Dong's grasp of the battlefield was extremely accurate. As a result of his rushed attack, Dahyuobin hadn't been able to lock onto Wang Dong. Thus, Wang Dong had been able to dodge his White Tiger's Fierce Light Wave. On the other hand, the change in Dahyuobin's movements had exposed Kui Yaji, who had been hiding behind him. Kui Yaji was completely stupefied when she saw the golden streaks appear on Wang Dong's wings. Only after the battle had reached its current stage had Wang Dong finally revealed his second soul skill, the Light of the Butterfly Goddess. This was the art of war. Hua Yuao and Wang Dong both knew that it was an impossible task to defeat Dahyuobin within such a short period of time. As a result of this, Kui Yaji had been their target since the very beginning. They hadn't even hesitated to expose a weak point in their formation by allowing Wang Dong to take on Dahyuobin without the assistance of their Haodong power. All of this had been done to temporarily distract Dahyuobin. Although Dahyuobin had a vast amount of combat experience, he was still a 12-year-old child. How many calculations could he perform in an instant? On the other hand, Hua Yuao's wave fighting entirely relied on the predictive nature of his spiritual detection. He didn't even need to tell Wang Dong anything. He could basically direct Wang Dong just by continuously changing the focal points of his spiritual detection. This was a type of mutual understanding that the two had gradually formed after the many matches they fought together. Kui Yaji was only a soul grandmaster, and as such, she definitely wouldn't be able to block the Light of the Butterfly Goddess that had been activated by Hua Yuao and Wang Dong's Haodong power. However, at that moment, she revealed her vicious side. As the Light of the Butterfly Goddess shot towards her, it was basically impossible for her to dodge it. On the other hand, Dahyuobin had pounced to the side and wasn't able to rescue her. However, she didn't retreat, sidestep, or reveal a flustered expression. In that instant, her second soul ring lit up. She swiftly swung her body, causing both of her pink tails to fly outwards. However, she didn't target Wang Dong, but instead Hua Yuao, who was beneath him. Her tails flew straight towards Hua Yuao's chest. One shouldn't assume that she had a large, soft tail. This wasn't fur, but an attack filled with the might of Kui Yaji's second soul skill. Hua Yuao was able to clearly sense the terrifying amount of soul power contained within Kui Yaji's two tails from his spiritual detection. Her soul power hadn't simply been condensed. It had been focused into the very tip of her tail, just like a needle. If he was struck by it, he'd definitely die. This was Kui Yaji's second soul skill, Foxtail Needle. One who knows both his and their enemy's strength is sure to be invincible in battle. Although Hua Yuao's trio didn't completely understand the comprehensive strength of their opponents, they were definitely able to predict their every move with Hua Yuao's spiritual detection. However, the understanding Dahyuobin's trio had of their team was limited by their previous performances. As far as they were aware, Hua Yuao had merely stood to the side and released his spiritual type soul skill during his team's previous matches. Other than that, he'd never made a move. As a result of this, Kui Yaji never expected to miss. She naturally couldn't dodge Wang Dong's attack, but it would have been worth it if she could have dragged Hua Yuao down with her. After all, her teammates could be targeted by Hua Yuao's spiritual shock at any time. When they began fighting at close range, the referee had immediately moved closer to them. The instant that Wang Dong unfurled his wings, he moved. For the sake of allowing the six freshmen to use all of their strength, this match had no restrictions on the amount of power they were allowed to use. The spectating teachers would only be able to clearly observe their potential if they went all out. Due to that, the referee wasn't just an experienced teacher, but was an agility system soul master. Furthermore, his cultivation had reached the 7-ring soul sage rank. The moment he made his move, his speed far surpassed that of what Hua Yuao and the rest could have imagined. When Kui Yaji had viciously launched her attack towards Hua Yuao, the referee had already arrived next to him. Even the referee thought that the two of them would ring out simultaneously. Just as the referee was about to make a move, Hua Yuao had moved. His figure suddenly turned illusory, and his figure swiftly moved backwards with a gentle sway, unexpectedly forming an afterimage. His speed definitely couldn't compare to the agility system Dalu's, but the movement he'd made was definitely not something an agility system soul master could perform. More importantly, his footsteps had been extremely mysterious, which had resulted in Kui Yaji's Foxtail Needle not being able to locate its target. As such, its condensed power hadn't been able to be released. In that exact moment, Wang Dong's Light of the Butterfly Goddess surged downwards, not just towards Kui Yaji, but also towards Dahyuobin. Wang Dong was standing on Hua Yuao's shoulders, and moved backwards along with him as a result. However, Hua Yuao's spiritual detection made it so that his soul skill definitely wouldn't miss. Furthermore, the Light of the Butterfly Goddess was an extremely strong soul skill that could be used as both a no attack and a single target attack. The referee threw Kui Yaji out of the arena with his right hand. His judgment was extremely good. Kui Yaji was no longer able to strike Hua Yuao, but she would definitely be seriously injured, if not killed, if she were bathed in the Light of the Butterfly Goddess. As for Dahyuobin, he didn't bother helping him. When the Light of the Butterfly Goddess landed on Dahyuobin's White Tiger's shield, a series of explosions rang out. In order to minimize the area of contact with Wang Dong's attack, he crouched down in a half-kneeling position while using his palms to protect his head. However, the strength of Wang Dong's attack exceeded his imagination. Although it was only a 2-ring soul skill, Dahyuobin was nearly unable to withstand its might. His White Tiger's shield actually almost shattered from defending against it. The air surrounding Dahyuobin's body suddenly twisted as his demonic eyes turned blood red. His third soul ring flickered with a noble purple color as it slowly rose into the air. His body, which had become muscular due to the White Tiger's possession, expanded yet again, causing his muscles to bulge even more. Moreover, his clothes completely burst apart, revealing the distinct silhouette of his muscles. Strangely, black patterns had appeared on his skin, and were it not for the hair on his skin, they'd be identical to that of the tiger's. His palms became even larger, while his claws turned bright silver. However, his body was covered by a layer of intense golden light, making it seem as if his skin had become gold-plated. In addition to that, a bloodthirsty light filled his blood-red eyes, in turn causing the hegemonic aura of a beast king erupt from his body. The instant he released his third soul skill, Hua Yuao and Wang Dong both felt an intense sense of crisis fill their hearts. A strong, golden light erupted from Dahyuobin's body, causing his speed and strength to increase explosively. He repeatedly slammed his palms outwards, forcefully destroying the balls of light created by Wang Dong's Light of the Butterfly Goddess. Although the target of Wang Dong's attack wasn't him specifically, it was still a powerful soul skill that had been activated by their Haodong power, and its strength had definitely reached the level of a Soul Elder's 1,000-year soul skill. Dahyuobin was the first person who'd been able to block the Haodong power-fueled Light of the Butterfly Goddess since the start of the tournament. This was the strength of a top-ranked beast soul. In the end, Wang Dong's cultivation rank was still inferior to Dahyuobin's. After all, he wasn't a soul elder, even after he'd fused his soul power with Hua Yuao's. If Hua Yuao's cultivation rank had reached rank 20, Dahyuobin definitely wouldn't have been able to react in such a manner. However, their current situation was due to the gap in their strength. In an instant, Wang Dong's attack completely dissipated. After sacrificing Kui Yaji, Dahyuobin, who was now at his peak condition, had finally arrived before Hua Yuao and Wang Dong. Although it was a 1v2, he'd already taken the upper hand in terms of pressure alone. The instant Wang Dong's Light of the Butterfly disappeared, Dahyuobin stamped the ground with his left foot, causing a muffled bang to ring out. Immediately afterwards, he shot forward like a bow, not towards Wang Dong, but towards Hua Yuao. This was Hua Yuao's first time being so close to Dahyuobin. With his hated enemy so close to him, Hua Yuao was unable to remain remain calm no matter how hard he tried to force himself. Huoyuao hurriedly moved backwards with the ghost shadow perplexing track, but how could his speed compare to that of the Soul Elder ranked Dai Huodin? The distance between them instantly shrank, and Dai Huodin sent his palm straight towards Huoyuao's chest. At that exact moment, Huoyuao suddenly stopped moving. He stared at Dai Huodin with a brilliant light in his eyes, causing the air within a 5-meter diameter of him to slightly distort. Even the major powers observing from the spectator's stand weren't able to notice this slight change. This wasn't his spiritual shock, but his spiritual interference. Huoyuao clearly understood that the only person who'd suffer a loss if he used his spiritual shock on Dai Huodin in his current state would be himself. Furthermore, he'd definitely suffer a backlash. Thus, he chose to use spiritual interference, which would never have a backlash. Furthermore, he used his ever-growing amount of control over his spiritual power to limit the range of his skill to a diameter of 5 meters. The instant Huoyuao activated his spiritual interference, Wang Dong suddenly fell forward in a strange manner, as if he'd slipped. However, his guillotine wings flickered with a pale orange light, and still slashed towards Dai Huodin. He'd aimed his attack at both sides of Dai Huodin's neck. No matter how tough the White Tiger's Badger transformation made him, Dai Huodin definitely wouldn't dare to forcefully take on Wang Dong's guillotine wings with just his neck. However, Huoyuao's spiritual interference had distracted him for a second. It was just a second, but he'd still been slowed down half a beat. Because of that, Dai Huodin's movements had become slightly sluggish when he felt the sharpness of Wang Dong's guillotine wings. Thus, he could only use his palms to forcefully block Wang Dong's attack. How could a hastily released attack be compared to an attack that had been charged up? Although Dai Huodin was using his White Tiger's Badger transformation, he still wasn't able to blast Wang Dong away. On the other hand, a golden light suddenly appeared on Wang Dong's folded wings. Once again, he activated the light of the butterfly goddess. With the support of Huoyuao and the Haodong power, the strength and activation speed of Wang Dong's soul skills far surpassed his usual level. His current strength had already reached the Soul Elder level. Compared to a Soul Elder, the only thing he lacked was a third soul skill. Dai Huodin was inwardly astonished. Wang Dong's grasp of tempo was simply too amazing, to the extent that he simply couldn't react. Helpless, he could only go all out with his defense. He activated his White Tiger's fierce light wave at close range, causing it to collide with Wang Dong's light of the butterfly goddess. One was a concentrated all-out attack, while the other was a defensive counterattack that had been hastily released. One was a 1,000-year soul skill, while the other was a 100-year soul skill. At this moment, both parties had similar levels of soul power. Thus, the winner of the clash was immediately decided. A violent boom rang out from the area between Wang Dong and Dai Huodin. Wang Dong had launched his attack from above, while Dai Huodin had launched his while facing upwards from down below. After the terrifying boom rang out, Wang Dong flew into the air with his wings unfurled, easily dispersing the force of their collision. However, Dai Huodin was left in a sorry state. He'd sunk knee deep into the ground, while his upper body was bared and facing the sky. A golden light exploded from his body, showing that his White Tiger's Badger transformation had sustained an incredible blow. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.